will address or will introduce the topic and changes that have occurred and where we are and what we'll be discussing today.
Thank you very much. We're having our second budget hearing on the 2015 budget for Mason County. And what I wanted to do is summarize the differences between the budget that we have prepared today and the one we had on December 2nd, a week ago. The current expense budget ending fund balance on December 2nd was $2,820,898. With that balance, the treasurer had made a recommendation that we increase the ending fund balance or the beginning fund balance for 2016 up to her recommendation of about $4.7 million in a letter that she wrote to the commissioners last week. With that in mind, the budget was modified to include additional revenues in 2014. The November financials reflect funding and revenue streams that have increased over even what has already been projected. We've received an additional $200,000 in sales taxes, an additional $200,000 in payments from the Department of Natural Resources, and I'm expecting the unexpended budget authority to increase by a minimum of $285,701. That, in addition to the elimination of a loan payment to ER&R in 2014 for $116,322, which will occur in 2015, 16, and 17 per the state auditor's requests. That brought our ending fund balance in 2014 up to, we'll have a number written down, $7,234,903. So that's what we're starting 2015 with. And those were the adjustments to get us to a new beginning fund balance.
What that number is?
$7,234,903.
Okay.
In addition to that, 2015 was changed by eliminating the property tax increase because of the maximum 1% increase that's allowable by law, which was reduced based on the assessor's calculation to 0.36%. The Commission has decided not to include property tax increases in the 2015 budget. What was increased is an increase of the sales tax revenue projections of $200,000, plus an increase in swift and certain receipts from the Department of Corrections in the jail budget, or in the current expense jail dollars, of $250,000, as well as the traffic policing diversion increase of $300,000 to $1,500,000. What was changed on the expenditure side was a reduction of the capital improvements coming out of current expense funding of $200,000. It was transferred into REITs 1 and 2. There is an allowance for O&M expenditures for county properties of $100,000 in each of those funds for a period of years up to 2016 that we're going to take advantage of and use the REIT funding for capital improvements in the county facilities and parks rather than taking it out of current expense. So that expenditure was moved into the REITs 1 and 2. The IT budget was also funded out of current expense and it covers all of the current expense departments and is paid for from non-departmental as a basic cost of doing business for the county. What the budget does include...
Before you go,
I'm sorry.
Could you please kind of clarify also that those monies will be coming out of non-departmental into...
That has no monetary impact. Each of the current expense departments has a budget line item to cover computer costs, and those costs are being reduced, and for all of current expense departments, and current expense non-departmental, as one department will make those payments into the IT fund.
Frank, it does have one impact that nobody would have known until we put it in now, and that was the $116,000 for the sheriff's department.
And that's where this year we have supplemental for $116,000 to include the IT costs from the sheriff's office to be funded into IT, to be equitably charged throughout all of the current expense departments. That needs to continue for 2015, and that would be added into that expense as well. So as a function of the 116, it's added in 14, and then will also be added in 15 as well.
But we're paying for it, but the sheriff's department's not being charged for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
The sheriff's office is not being charged.
So normally it would have been charged.
Correct. What the budget does include is $1,285,357 to the sheriff's office, an increase of 14% over the 2014 budget, and includes $700,000 for the deputies' collective bargaining agreement, $174,782 for the increase to the command staff salaries, $47,871 for the COLA and medical increase for the corrections and support staff, $454,327 for the increased costs of care and custody for additional inmate capacity in the jail due to the recent remodel. Staffing levels are increased by adding a record specialist in the sheriff's administrative offices, a corrections officer to allow courthouse weapon screening to function for longer hours and to assist in the county campus for security, a sheriff's deputy in the fourth quarter, and 2 corrections officers, 1 in the third and 1 in the fourth quarter. Countywide, the budget includes increases in staffing for the following departments: a .5 county tech in the auditor's office, a full FTE in probation in the district court, a .4 juvenile probation volunteer coordinator training, 1 administrative assistant for the public defender's office, a public defender in the public defender's office, and a cashier in the treasurer's office. Additionally, the prosecutor's office was funded to purchase software necessary for the processing of their daily activity. The increase to the countywide budget for departments other than the sheriff's office is $1,719,788, an increase of 10%. The budget has an ending fund balance of $4,315,463. Adding to that unexpended budget authority in 2015, as well as deducting from that 13th month expenditures, brings the 2016 beginning fund balance to $4,725,300, closer to the benchmark that the treasurer's office has asked for. The increase in staffing will create a bow wave of expenditures that will continue into the future county budgets of, in this case, about $2,132,000. Without looking at increasing the revenue streams for the county, that will be unsustainable. The bow wave that this budget for staffing increases and the reduction of ending fund balance in this budget will make for a difficult 2016 budget, in conjunction with the contracts that are being negotiated in 2015 for 2016, and will make a very difficult 2017 budget as well. So that is the budget that we are proposing at this time. Any questions?
Could you just go, did we change that from, we have 4 FTEs that were being proposed for the sheriff's department to be eliminated to take for the deputy public defender? That was on the table. Did we?
We changed it to reduce the one
Just the one.
deputy.
And these were proposed positions and not existing positions?
These are new positions, correct?
Any other questions? Commissioners, do you have any questions of Frank? Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Well, we did continue this hearing specifically to keep it open to public testimony. If you'd like to testify on this hearing, or on this budget, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Come to the podium. Is there anybody that would like to testify? Yeah, please. Come to the podium, please state your name, if you'd like, your address.
My name is April Hansen. I'm 961 Sunset Hill Road in Amherstine. The greatest thing that I am concerned about, I realize that there's so many elements here in the county, and that you have all the budgets are dovetailed. If the sheriff's office works 365 days a year, 24/7, and everything that this county does, whether it's a festival, whether it is the health department, whether it's the corrections is part of them, whether it's the courts, whatever they do within this county, it all comes back down to the sheriffs and their deputies and that part of the system having to shake hands with these people first in the system. And it's just the risk factor that happens with their job, the safety factor. I would encourage you to keep finding ways to increase their budget for deputies. It's an increasingly dangerous world. We're showing the need here with the need for public defenders and need for probation officers. We're showing that need for these deputies because they have to come through that part of the system first. So please continue to look at that.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Is there anybody else that would like to testify? Sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Colin Davis. Just a couple of notes, and a lot of this has gotten ironed out, and which is really good. But I wanted to be just clear and for the public information, because there was some concern about the IT fund and whether or not it was going to drop down into the big black hole of non-departmental. And my understanding is, is that this will be a separate account, and it'll be trackable. Those monies, the IT monies, will be trackable. The only thing that's changed is the administration of the account. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is, I'm a little disappointed to see that Roby campus security. I thought that was a bit of overkill in light of this. Really, I didn't see any justification for that, and I thought it was an excellent item to cut from the budget and save close to $50,000. And I was hoping that money would go toward the deputy public defender, but you found money to do that anyway, so that was good. On a general note, I'd like to say that the decisions that you made today are going to be the decisions, we're going to have to live with those results tomorrow, and we know that that's going to be burdensome in terms of our financial, our physical stability for the county. There's very little chance that we're going to grow our way out of this depression, if you will, anytime in the near future. And the reason we are here today is because of decisions that were made in the past. The thing is that the decisions that are made in the past, as well as today, we don't realize the outcome. We don't see the damage that they do or the impact that they have for several years. And then we have a tendency to forget those lessons and then repeat those same mistakes. And I hate to see that happen. So the lesson we have to take away from here, I hope, is that we need to generate more income. We're not here in a $3 million shortfall, for instance, as it was earlier described, because of $174,000 for the sheriff's deputies for 8 people taken. We're not here for that reason. We're not here because 87 people who aren't represented got 1.68% increase in COLA. We're here for bigger decisions that were made in the past that put us here today. So I'd hate to see the budget being used for political purposes, for rhetorical purposes. The numbers are the numbers, and the only thing we can do for the future now is to generate more income. Every single solitary decision we make, from the moment you adopt this budget until we get onto the next budget, is going to impact that revenue generation. And I hope we will look at it with new eyes and not go that same old road, because we really don't have too many options when it comes to revenue generation. But we do have some, and some of the ones that we do have, and it's to your credit, we are now in the timber business when it's appropriate to be. We are now in the shellfish industry when it's appropriate to be. And I hope that we will now be in the real estate investment industry when it's appropriate, when we look at our surplus properties later on today. So every time the pennies become nickels, become dollars, and so on. And since we only have a couple of ways to generate revenue, I would hope that there wouldn't be a single moment and a single item on that agenda that has not looked for its income revenue potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to testify on the proposed budget? Hearing none, I'm going to close public testimony. Commissioner discussion.
Just one little item. I have one question for Frank. Frank, this is one of the smallest items in the budget, maybe in the budget, I don't know what it is. Mayor Krantz came before us the other day and talked about this coalition for lobbying, basically, legislature with the small cities and counties for $500. Is that somewhere in this $30-some million?
That was put in.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I got one comment with that brought up. This is extremely tough, and it always has been. But we were very lucky to have such an incredible person in the form of our finance to work with. His depth and knowledge of the numbers has been amazing for me, and such a great help. The clarity he's been able to bring, because he speaks my kind of language, and sometimes that's not easy, you know me. But I'll tell you, we are extremely blessed. Regardless of any decision that is made, the decisions are ours. But I truly feel like we were given incredible and accurate information from day one till the end, and I want to thank him very much for that, because I truly do appreciate it, and I believe that I'm pretty heavy. So it's nice for you to have a break, huh?
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to say some comments. I think that there are some policy decisions that are being made here that I think that are worth noting. First of all, thank you very much for your comments regarding our need for additional deputies. Our goal and our hope is to get to at least 1.5 deputies per 1,000 people. In 2007, there were 44 commission officers. 2014, there were 52. That's 8. That's an increase of 8 officers over a 7-year period. And in 2015, late 2015, we'll add 1 more. We're still falling short, but my hope and my goal, and I hope the members of the Criminal Justice Working Team will work together with us to include that, how we're going to get there to that 1.5, in addition to acknowledging the increased needs of our public defense, our prosecutor, our superior court, our district court, and our jail. All as a system. It's a closed system in my mind. our criminal justice system, and I think we have an amazing clerk. I apologize for leaving you out. You are such an essential part of that. We'll get there. I think we can. I think that we're going to need the help of the Shelton voters to get there, to get build the kind of criminal justice system that we want and we're proud of. Get away from the rhetoric and start working together. I think this is so important. I think it's important that this budget will also allow us to expand services to the citizens by keeping our services upstairs, the ones that actually touch our citizens the most. Keep those services open during the lunch hour when most kind of people expect it to be open. Unfortunately, they had to shut down due to budget cuts, and we're slowly working our way back. And I just thank the treasurer, I thank the assessor, I thank our auditor for all your work to try to make this happen. I'm very hopeful by adding to our campus security, but actually to our weapons screening, that we'll be able to keep the courthouse open longer, so that, should they need to go over time on a court case or court cases, to be able to kind of clear out the calendar, it isn't an extra burden on the security and the weapons screening. I can't get down to the details of how that will happen, but that's my hope, and I'm trusting that the sheriff will help make that happen. And as part of, again, the consideration of the closed system of the criminal justice system. We do have a bow wave. I think that we are climbing a lot quicker than I thought for 2014 out of this recession, in that our increases in sales tax. We're very dependent on increased growth. Our increasing retail growth. Commissioner Netherland has been working his tail off in the north end on that to get some more retail establishments open. Our Economic Development Council will be working on that. If there's any policies that need to be changed to encourage more economic growth, retail sales growth, we will be on top of that. I agree with you, Tom, that every decision needs to be made in mind, how will this increase revenues? And I'd like to see it happen naturally out of just more opportunities and more places for people to be able to spend their dollars. We are spending way too many dollars in our neighboring counties because you can't get it here. It's not that people don't want to shop here. People want to shop here. They just have to. I have to go get shoes in Olympia. So I think it'll be partially going to the voters and asking for their help. They'll have to be smart, and they'll have to be working together. I want to thank all the county employees who have given their heart and soul here and worked overtime and went with more and more uncompensated overtime to meet the increased workload with less staff. And we're trying to get you to a place where it isn't so difficult on you. This budget is ugly on the bow wave, but we met the goal of having a 4.7 projected ending fund balance. And I think that we're going to see some economic growth with that, and with a clear, honest discussion with the voters about what do you prioritize in this county, and what would you like to pay for? Would you be willing to pay for it? Sorry for the long speech. It's just that this has been a long process, and I'm happy with what we ended up with.
After a motion, we'll have discussion, we'll have some more discussion on this. I don't want to interfere with Commissioner. Madam Chair, I would like to move that we pass and accept the budget as it is prepared at this point with no changes.
I will second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the budget as presented. Any discussion?
I will speak in favor of it. It was a hard task. I did not make the motion last time. We had some things that we were dealing with, and I was uncomfortable, and I'm very comfortable with where we are at now. It's not perfect, not by a long shot, but it's absolutely necessary that some things occur. Everybody that knows me knows that I've always been in favor of strengthening protection on the street. that was important during this time, but there's so much more in this budget that occurs. But for one example, we are strengthening our sheriff's department on a couple of different levels. One of them is we're creating another person on the street to help back up and protect the other ones that are out there. And I'm hoping that this is, as our discussion with the sheriff's department, as we start to come back together again, that we start looking at this as a 3 to 5 year plan to get them fully staffed to where they can protect each other. But aside from that, this is really heavy on corrections officers. And I want to explain a little bit why. Overall, it's 3 new corrections officers, but I want to remind everybody that sometimes things are necessary. It was 6 months ago, we had a state of emergency in Mason County in our corrections center. Irregardless of how it happens or what occurred that may have happened, everybody can have their discussions about management or whatever. It doesn't matter. This is our opportunity to cover that and make sure that it doesn't happen. And it's a necessity. I would love to say that, we can save the money, but we can't. We need to do that to make sure we don't enter into that situation and put our deputies and our sheriffs, pull deputies off the street to go into the jail to have to work. None of that made any sense, and that created overtime. All in all, by doing what we've done, we're saving money. I know it doesn't look like it, but we're saving money over the long run on some of these issues. Being able to be open for lunchtime has been a big issue of yours, Commissioner, and a big issue of mine as well. I very much think it's necessary, but because of the cuts that have occurred in the past, we didn't have the staff to be able to do it. And being able to create the staff to allow us to be able to do the jobs they need to was necessary. Luckily for us, we had an auditor who was able to find a way to switch some people around so it comes out of another fund and not affect our bottom line. But if we were going to make it happen, it had to be done. It had to be done now, and the only way to do it was with bodies. Yesterday was a big day. Irregardless of how it looked, and a little bit, there was some tempers for a few minutes here and there. But what occurred yesterday is we were able to reduce our deficit spending in a couple hours by $1.5 million. And I don't care what it is, that's pretty darn good. I'm tickled with that. So that letter from the treasurer, thank you. That gave us an opportunity to do a little better than we had done before. And I'm very happy with where we've come out. And Commissioner Sheldon should be happy about this. We're not going to raise the tax this year by the 1%. I don't, whether you vote for it or not, but that's something I know that you've been a champion of for years. All in all, it's not perfect, it's not what I like, but we definitely did what we had to fight, and we accomplished what we needed to accomplish. But as Commissioner Jeffrey says, now we have to look at how we're going to maintain this. It's easy enough to do what we did. It wasn't easy, but it's big enough to do what we did. But we still have to find a way to maintain it in the future. So bear that in mind. Let's come up with ideas. Let's sit as individuals and talk about this and see what we can come up with, because we're going to have to address some pretty important points in the next year.
Well, Commissioner, I appreciate all your hard work, and Frank and those in the staff and the departments and the electeds on working on this budget. I think there's, as has been said, I think it's been very transparent and a lot of effort has gone into it. I don't think we get to the $4.7 million ending fund balance that the treasurer recommends. But I have said that I've been here for 500 meetings plus awareness, and I'm going into my 11th year as a commissioner, and I won't continue after next year. So I'll complete my 12 years, and I look at the pictures back here, and not many commissioners have that length of service. And I draw on that length of service to make a couple points. I just don't. I think we're committing to expenditures without firm revenue. As a commission, we're talking about going to the voters and asking them for more money, and that's a very difficult thing to do in Mason County. I think it's a difficult thing to do in all of the Olympic Peninsula that has suffered greatly with our economy. Now, if I drive to Seattle, there's places that you and I know Seattle that you won't even recognize. I mean, Amazon is building 3 buildings bigger than the Columbia Tower. It's amazing. And that's generating a lot of income for a particular part of our state, when the rural parts of our state are experiencing still a lot of difficulty. One fact is over 90% of our criminal defendants are eligible for indigent defense. We, the county, have to fund the defense costs for over 90% of our criminal defendants. We run the jail, we do the patrol. Our sheriff's office does a wonderful job. But I'm very worried that our expenditures, this bow wave that we've created, and Mr. Bitter mentioned the $2,132,000 bow wave that's created by this budget. So while we're hiring deputies, we're hiring them at the very end of 2015, and that will carry on into 2016 and 2017. By my count, we have 5 new employees in the county, and I think 5 new employees in the sheriff's office. I may be wrong. 5 and 5. But, and being open at lunch, that's a great thing. I think citizens will really appreciate that. But we also have 7 new contracts, new labor contracts that we have to renegotiate for January 1, 2016. And I would say that probably will cost us another $1 million. So we'll be here next year, same time, same faces, and we'll probably have a $3 million deficit to overcome. Now, in the past, when we had the Great Recession that we went through, what happened was we had layoffs. When I started, we had 415 employees. We went down to 315. And that was the only way to sustain our budgets. Then we started to increase our employee, our FTE count again, which we are doing now. And I'm very concerned that the people that we may have hired with this budget will have to be laid off. And according to the union rules, the last hired will be the first laid off. Then we will get a bill from the state of Washington for employment security because we're self-insured. And that will, again, be a big hit that we did not budget for. So I'm very worried about the future. I can't vote for the budget, but I'm not bitter about it. I'm optimistic about Mason County. I hope we do have the increased revenue, and but I just don't want to spend the money and then ask the voters later to bail us out. I think that we have some incredible employees. I'm very happy that there is a small increase. I would be happier if it was a larger increase for the unrepresented employees. And as I mentioned before, I think it's a little inequitable to see 78 employees getting $88,000 with a 1.68%, and the 8 or 9 people in the command staff of the sheriff's office getting $174,000 for increases, because those will go on again to the future each year and each year and each year. So I'll be quiet, and I thank you for listening.
So I am going to call for the vote. It's been moved and seconded to approve. Close 20.
Before you do, I have to ask one more question. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out, Commissioner, I appreciate where you're coming from, but I have to ask again. Because each and every time, this is a long process. It's been very hard on me, and I know it's been very hard on Commissioner Jeffries. We started off with millions of dollars that was being asked for, and each and every meeting we went to, we found ways to cut this and cut that, and we cut millions. And last week, I asked for an extension so that you can come back, because to this point, I've been asking you for what you want to do and what you want to cut. And to this point, I haven't received anything still, and we postponed it for a week. So before we take the vote, I want to ask one more time, what do you want to cut? Because I've still been waiting, that's important. doing these things only half the job. This is hard. And there's a lot of things I would like. I understand that we have, we don't have enough money. I understand all the things you said, and I agree with all of them. But again, the decisions have to be made, what's going to be cut. So before we vote, I need to know, is there something that I'm missing? You've been here a long time, please, tell me.
I think you're missing the concept of living within your means. I think you're missing the concept that your expenditures cannot exceed your revenue. It has to be sustainable. That's my point, Commissioner, that it needs to be sustainable. And while it was a good process to go through, I think the process that we've used over the years has not been the same this year. I think when we when we meet with the elected officials and department heads, when we as a commission agree on something, usually it's written down and people, commissioners, initial it or sign it, so they know that that is the item that goes forward in the budget. I think we should return to that. It makes it a more formal process. We follow through, and we have I think we would have a budget that is more realistic to vote on at the end.
I agree with everything you just said, but if there's no recommendations for cuts, I guess I'm ready to vote.
Move and second to approve the 2015 budgets as proposed. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
Motion carried. Thank you. That takes us to item number 9.2, which is our public